what is wrong with this motorbike? I mean, other than that it's laying on the side with an open heart. The bike would run for only 5 to 10 kilometers and then shut off without anything before. It just shuts off, and I didn't know why. I exchanged everything for the ignition instead of one part. This one, the pickup. And if you want to know how to exchange the pickup on your XL600, this is the right video. So what was the problem here? This is the old pickup. I tried to repair it and open it up, but it's all glued together, so no chance to repair anything. But how did I find out the problem? The point was, I hooked up my multimeter to this, and the resistance is like near to 400 ohms, and that's perfectly fine. And I measured it 2 or 3 times, but I mean always the resistance was perfect. So I thought that this part is not a problem. But after all the problems and all the switching off of the bike, and I stood still with a not running bike like 3 times or so, and someone needed to pick me up. So now again I tried to find the error, and I knew that this was the only part that I haven't exchanged yet. So I took it out, heated it up with a heat gun, and when heating up, the resistance jumps at one point, it just jumps to a few kilo ohms. So I know that when it's hot, there's a short circuit somewhere in between, and then it's not functioning anymore. And what does this part do? Every round of the crankshaft, it sends a signal to the bike's computer, so it knows the RPM and everything. And when this is not sending a signal anymore because there's a short circuit somewhere, the bike would not run. This is the new part I bought. I hooked it up to my multimeter. It's also about 400 ohms. And before mounting it, because it's a used part, I will check if it maybe has the same problem as the other one. So I'm heated up and wait and see if it does the same as the other, or if it's okay. While heating up, you can see that the resistance goes higher a little bit, but not much. It shouldn't go above like 600. This is now heated up to about 60 to 80 degrees. I don't have something to measure the heat, but it feels like probably maybe 50 degrees something. And the resistance is still okay. So I think this part is alright. When I decided to film this video, unfortunately I already dismounted the old pickup, but I will show you how to mount it, and then you know, I mean, if you go all steps backwards, you know how to mount it or dismount it, whatever. So I will show you the mounting process, and then you will know where it sits and everything else. And by the way, if you want to know where your oil screen of your XL600 and maybe other models also sits, it is right here. So if you take off this cover, that's the oil screen. You remove the screw and then you can pull it out and check it once in a while. Before I start, I remove this rubber sealing stuff right here, the sealant, and clean the sealing area for the new gasket, and then I put in the new pickup. So this is where the pickup is sitting usually, and I just put in the screws. And when the screws are in and tightened up, I check the distance to this one. Can you see the distance right there? I can see with my eyes already that the gap is way too big. It should be about 0.7, and I'll try to measure it now. I tried to close that gap because it's about 0.9 right now, 0.9 millimeter. But with losing the screws, and yeah, when you loosen the screws, you can't adjust the position, unfortunately. so it will stay like that right now. Screws are tightened down and I applied some silicone seal on this rubber part. I clean the area and then I mount the cover. And when mounting it, be careful with this part right here because this is wiggling around and the O-ring is quite important. And put some tape around this shaft right here because it can destroy the shaft seal when putting it on. As I said earlier before, check that this O-ring is on and this thing, I don't know what's called. Now I can put on the new gasket. When putting on the gasket, check that all holes are free. Nothing is touching. Never use force when mounting this kind of things. Don't use a hammer, nothing, just wiggle it on. And now, mount the screws. Tighten all screws to 10 Newton meters and crosswise from inside to the outside. I go in 2 steps. And then I go all around just to make sure that all screws are tight. Don't forget that oil line and this oil screw. And there are 2 washers, one above and one below the oil line fitting. Now I remove the tape and put on the Kickstarter. Made some markings before dismounting, but that's not the right position. This is the right position. Now I put a screw back in. This is a 12mm wrench. Tighten this one pretty well. And now the brake lever is next. Don't forget a spring for the brake switch. Just like this. Soaked in. And now all this is done actually. Sorry, I'm not done here. I forgot a foot pack. Just goes on like this. The cable just goes up through this one, up right here, and on this clamp there's another smaller clamp for the cable on the other side. Then you just route it all the way up to the plug on the other side. The connector for the pickups, it's right here, it's this one, so just plug it in and that's all you gotta do. Now it's the moment of truth. Will it run? Let's see. So, for now it's starting. I'm very happy how this turned out. The pickup is exchanged. You know how to exchange it yourself. And I will do a test ride for about 10 kilometers and I hope it runs. I'll write in the comments if it worked out or not. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like my videos. I post weekly videos with stuff like this, very helpful stuff. So, like the video, subscribe and see you in the next video.